do something that I hope you're going to find both fun and also educational in terms of your listening. I'm going to walk you through a special tool I created to help people hear and follow Beethoven's symphonies. And what I'm hoping is not only will it help you to follow this Beethoven symphony movement that the Concert Orchestra is going to play, but then in the second half, I think it will also help give you some chops for the Brahms. So this is my way of a little audience, not so much participation, but audience engagement. I think you'll enjoy this. So we can have just a little bit of lights on for the audience. If you look at your program, I think it's in the back of your program. You'll find I've given everyone a copy of a piece of paper with these funny little boxes on it. This is fun. Okay. If we were more high-tech, I'd have this on a screen with a bouncing ball. So but I kind of like low-tech. As a composer, I still write with pencil and paper. So you're going to have a piece of paper in your hand. And I'm very proud of this piece of paper because on this one sheet of paper, I've represented the entire first movement of Beethoven's First Symphony. And without using printed music, the actual score is many tens of pages, and parts are also many pages. This is all on one page. And what I've done is it's kind of part map and part comic book. What I've done is it's a series of boxes that go from left to right, and then you go down to the next row. And you don't need to know much about music to follow it. All you need to do is be able to see that there are three types of information. On the very top, in black and gray, is the structure of the piece. So you'll see the very left-hand side, the top, the first thing you're going to hear is an introduction. And it's marked adagio. Well, if you study music, one way or another, you're going to be learning some Italian. That's just the way it goes. So adagio means slow. Then you're going to see the next one is over here's an exposition. And that is the first, after the introduction, that's the first part of the piece. And then in the next line, do you see where it says development? And under that, recapitulation, and then coda. So those are the major structural parts of what you hear in a symphonic movement. Introduction, and then the exposition, which exposes the music, the development, which develops the music, and the recapitulation. Instead of saying repeat, it's recapitulation because you bring back the music, but it's changed. It's not the same as it was at the beginning because of the life experience it had in the development section. And the life experience in the development section causes it to change the way the old music plays. You hear the same tunes, but everything's a little different. And one of the big differences is all of the harmonies in the home key. But that's part of a different talk. Now, underneath, you see sort of a series of boxes, right? Underneath the boxes, you'll see funny letters and hairpins. You see that? Now, this is very important because this wouldn't work for rock music, but for classical music, if you get lost, one of the things that helps to know is when things are loud or soft. Because how many of you play classical music in your car? Have you ever had that experience where you're hearing, let's say, a Mahler symphony, it doesn't seem like there's anything playing, and suddenly you hear the whole brass section and the percussion come in and you get an accent? Have you all had that experience? I almost have. So that's the reason, because classical music is one of the things we work on with the students here is to play loud and soft. Loud is good, but it's really good when you can have different levels. So in music, we use the word F. The letter F stands again for an Italian word, forte, which means loud. And P stands for piano, which means soft. So the instrument that many of you have in your homes, the piano, is really short for a longer name, which is pianoforte, which means it's a soft, loud instrument. Because the piano, unlike the harpsichord, was able to play both softly and loudly, depending on how hard you hit the hammers. So that's where that name comes from. So you'll see if something is forte piano, and then an FP is right next to it, it means it's suddenly loud and suddenly soft. If you see a hairpin that's going outward, which looks like like it's increasing, that means that it's getting louder. And if the hairpin is receding into a point, that means it's getting softer. There's a funny thing, SF. Now that's Beethoven. Beethoven loves to write sforzando, which means suddenly forceful. And when you think of Beethoven's music, it's about, he's trying to get your attention all the time. So these are like jabs of loud music, and that's very common. And he brought that into the elegant courtroom. He brought the countryside there with the sports songs. Sometimes if you want something really loud, you just put two Fs by it. So you'll see FF. And if you want something really quiet, PP. So in a certain way, you can follow the music just by following these markings. So that's a kind of guide. But the main event is the boxes. And what I've done in the boxes was this was my big discovery. We don't hear music in real time. We hear music psychologically. So sometimes a musical moment that we retain in our ears may last 5 minutes, 1 moment. And sometimes 1 moment may be less than a second because it's such a powerful idea. So with the boxes, they represent the ideas. So for instance, in the first box, you'll see it says wind chords, and then in parentheses, in the wrong key. Now, we're pretty stupid these days, but back then in Beethoven's time, they knew what a key was, and they knew when a piece started in a wrong key. And in fact, Beethoven's First Symphony was famous, one of the most famous of all his pieces at the time, and people kind of laughed in a very sophisticated way because Beethoven was playing a joke. It's a piece in C major, but the first chords you hear are in F major, which was not done. So this is a very elegant joke. And so the orchestra's going to demonstrate the first box for you. Not the right key. One of those chords was C major, but it's called Symphony in C major. Okay, so that's the level of that joke. But you can see I just drew bars, so it just shows you there's chords. Now the second box says the violins have a tune that's in the right key. So let's hear it. And you see I made a wavy line to kind of give you a sense that it's the violins playing a tune by themselves. So let's start now. We still haven't really gotten C major yet, and this is Symphony in C major. But it's at least the violins are in the right ballpark. They're playing in the key. So then the third box, what does it say? There's a duel of chords between strings and winds. And here's where we finally get to hear the C major. And you'll hear the strings and winds alternate. So are you able to follow that? See that? So that's what they did. And then finally, with the introduction, we get Beethoven's real idea for the whole symphony, an ascending scale. So you're going to hear a scale just go up very simply, like do, re, mi, and then come down very quickly, and that sets up the real beginning of the piece. Now we get our first big theme. There's only two or three more things I want to play for you. The rocket theme, and that's right under exposition. You see where that says rocket theme? Now, you may think Beethoven didn't have rockets in his time, but they actually used that term to, as a projectile, for missile. And they used to have, when music meant a tune that kept climbing up. So you're going to hear a tune that goes bum 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 bum. And that was a very conventional idea. So here's Beethoven's rocket theme. So that's the first idea, the rocket going up, and that idea of getting higher energy is a little bit like the scale going up. And so you're going to see that's what this piece is about, this building of energy. Then we have a second, if you see the second group, where it says second group, that's in the second line, it says falling theme, oboe and flute. Well, that's not a very poetic description, but that was just my way of describing a tune that goes, it jumps and then it falls. It goes, bum, ba, da, 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 dum, bum, ba, da, 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 dum. And so you're going to hear that now with the oboe and flute. So starting on that box in the second group. Okay, so you're getting the idea. So those are the two ideas. Bum, 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 bum. Let's all sing that. Ready? Excellent. You see, now you've got it in your body, so you'll get it when you hear. Now, let's do the second group, which goes bum, ba, da, 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 dum, da, 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 dum. Okay, 1 and 2. Bum, ba. Okay, you're getting it. Now, there's a couple, just two little things of spice I want you to notice. Do you see that next to the, it's on the second line, the fourth box, it says tremolo chords. So I put a little bit of jargon. Tremolo is when the strings shake their wrists like this. Okay, and it's a very cool effect. It creates energy. You guys want to show them what that sounds like, the tremolo chords there? 69. Okay. Ready? They're shaking. It's very, very exciting. And then here's an example of a psychological moment that only takes a second, but it's so powerful, it's like a big moment in itself. When the orchestra all plays together doing 4 unison notes. You see the box on the second line, which just says 4 unison notes, 4, and it has just 4 black circles. Do you see that? Okay, so we're going to play that for you. Measure on the 8. Because usually the orchestra's all doing different things. Suddenly they're all doing something together. So these are landmarks that will help you follow the piece. So as we play through it, see if you can follow the boxes as we go through it. Usually when I work with a group doing it, we do it one time with the piano first, and then it's perfect. So you may get a little bit lost. The other thing I got to warn you is the exposition repeats. So when you get to the end of the second line and it says repeat expo, it goes all the way back to the rocket theme. So that all goes 2 times. Everything from marked in the exposition is twice. And then we go on to the development. But if you follow this, you'll start to realize all this music that you kind of fuzz out on in between, you'll start to be able to hear it. Because these little landmarks, it's like when you drive to a place you've never been and you start to get used to the other freeway exits, it seems shorter. That's what's going to happen. It's going to seem like the piece is shorter, and you're going to pick up things and make connections. And that's really what opens the door to the complexity and really the huge joy in listening to symphonic music. And that's why in classical music we can listen to the same piece hundreds and hundreds of times and always get something new from it. But I think you'll see this is kind of like opens windows onto what's going on in the orchestra. So now we're going to perform Beethoven Symphony No. 1, Movement 1. And this is not arranged.